All right. Here we are. Still inside. Still locked down. So I'm going to turn this down. And welcome back to my living room. This is Focus here, and this is the Focus podcast, number 26. Yeah. So it's been a couple months now doing these podcasts from my living room. And, it's good. I like it. It's keeping everybody connected and keeping me in touch with my music community, and also kind of, getting me ready for when things do, I don't know, go back to normal, whatever normal is, or move forward, with live production, with streaming, with, music as a business in general. So, I've reached out to a few artists and had their opinions on how live streaming is kind of integrate into live performance and live shows in the future. Um, Also, just seeing what people were doing, in this I don't know, I guess you can call it time off or whatever, or downtime, or I don't know, maybe more production for other people, or people who are already on this mindset of working at home, um, prevailed over this lockdown, and maybe see a full time future in it, like maybe I do myself. But, this is interesting times, and especially with music. I think music is, going to dictate how live streaming works and stuff like that. You know, um, yeah. So I've used this platform to feature independent artists usually, but this time today I'm bringing in a producer, engineer extraordinaire, musician. Been in the game for a long time, knows business, and he was an integral part of a lot of my songs. A couple songs from the Bad Meat LP, produced for me, and a good part of the new album, the AM Grinding, engineering, mixing, recording, all of the above. And I like to make this podcast more, a broad music scheme, as opposed to just artists. Kind of want to talk to producers. I want to talk to, you know, uh, visual artists and stuff like that too. Yeah, so gonna bring my guest because we don't have much time tonight, and start chatting right away. Let's see if the split screen works. Ashton, how's it going, buddy?
It's going good. How are you doing?
Good. Sometimes I have a little bit of futzing around with this split screen.
Yeah, no worries.
So give me 1 second. Sometimes I have to refresh.
I think your sound just cut out. I think you're restarting it or something. That's fine.
Yeah, it's sometimes it, like, because I have the screen in it for my playback. Sometimes it just doesn't want to give me, and it doesn't want to refresh. It's, oh, there it is. Give me the little circle. And no, doesn't seem to want to play along. Aha! There we go. We
There we
did.
go.
Third times. How's
Yeah.
it going? Nice setup, man.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, this is my home setup. So this is where I do most of my kind of creative work and my mixing and all that kind of stuff. So
And you're in the Hammer, right?
yeah,
Hamilton.
yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so Ashton is a producer, engineer. Yeah, is that, I guess I could title that,
Hmm.
extraordinaire. You've been around for quite a while. You've worked in the business about 20 years now.
Yeah.
And I've kind of gotten updates from you how your home studio is going and all that. Um, so with this whole lockdown, has it been like an advantage for you to work at home, or is it just timing, or is it harder? Like, what have you gone through this whole
Um,
lockdown with?
well, I've done like I still have the studio in Toronto up and running. The only time we had to shut down was last what was it, last May or something, when there was like that the really hard shutdown.
Yeah, the first real like full
Yeah.
shutdown.
Yeah, and once we opened up, we were allowed, like we haven't had to close since. So,
Hmm.
which I was really surprised about, just because they specifically said, like in the big PDF document of who could be open, who could be closed, they actually included recording studios, which I was surprised because we're such a small industry, really, and that they included us was good. Like we didn't have to kind of tag on with like, I think we're television, or I think we're this, I think we're that. We got our own little thing, and we were allowed to keep going. So it is really there's a lot of things to consider, just having people come into the studio now, like the amount of work to sanitize everything, and there, and everybody has their own degree of comfortableness with the pandemic as well. A lot of people just don't care at all. Some people are super careful. Generally speaking, I think the people that are really super careful aren't really interested in coming to the studio anyway.
Hmm.
But it's sometimes it's kind of a grind, me going like, no, you got to put your mask on, you got to do this, you got to do that, because
And you have to remember all that too. It's like you're,
yeah, because I mean, ultimately it's my business, right? And that's
yeah, and it's your spot, right? Like, yeah.
yeah, that's the thing that I find frustrating with the whole thing, because people kind of laugh at me, or they're kind of like, oh, like why you're worried about you're this, that. It's like, it doesn't matter how I personally feel about it. This is my business. I can't put it on the line. I do not want to be. I don't want to be in the paper as like another outbreak center.
Yeah, and
Um,
also you just got like with even with a recording studio, you got to recover your own ass with everything, right?
yeah,
Pretty
yeah,
much.
for sure.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, I mean, it's really, the thing that I've noticed the most is it's fine for recording, it's fine, because we can be in the separate rooms, and that's what I do now. Is I just keep when the variant started, I feel like that was kind of a new beast. I wasn't
Hmm.
really that worried before. Like I was cautious, like I should say, I wasn't worried with I felt like what I was doing was enough to keep everybody safe. But
Yeah.
when the variants started taking hold, I was like, you know what, this is kind of a whole different thing now. I don't know what this is. And I what I started doing is the artist just stays in the booth, like in the vocal room, and I just stay in the other room. There's no friends, there's no nothing, and and then we're just kind of separated, and I've been lysoling the air and all this stuff. So but what I was going to say is, I think the most profound change for working out of the studio is that people it's harder to be creative. Like it's all well and
Yeah.
good, it's all well
Yeah.
and good to you want to record some vocals, let's record some vocals, that's totally cool. But I find anytime we have to do something creative together, and wearing the masks, and or you're in separate rooms, or you're I find that really can be wearing. I actually like it better in the separate rooms, because then the masks aren't as important. But like when we're in the same room, like before, when we're in the same room and wearing the masks and stuff, and you have to keep your distance and stuff, it's like
I
really
know.
hard to be creative.
Yeah, because you're thinking about the sanitization steps, and then B, you're also thinking of like time constraint, and then as well, you're thinking about you. That's the thing too. Like if it depends on who the artist is and who they are comfortable around with, right? So if
Hmm.
they have somebody that comes to the studio with them and is maybe lends a hand with
Hmm.
creativity, that's that you get that spontaneous moment with that person and creativity, and then you're like, if you're loose and you're not feeling like worried about other things, then
Hmm.
yeah, you can bounce ideas off the artist, and see what they think. And yeah, it's tough. It's because you're thinking about all these other things. And I remember you and I don't know how big your time window was for being in the studio, but
Mhm.
I know when it all started, you had shut down.
Yeah.
But luckily, you and I had done pretty much everything. We had all the stems,
Hmm.
we pretty much had everything. And I was able to sneak away somewhere and do vocals into where
Yeah.
I did my first two albums. So that was good because we could bring them, like I can send them to you and we can mix and kind of listen. And then I
Yeah.
sat on them, and then by the fall you had you know opened up a bit, and it was a little more loose at the end of the summer.
Yeah. For
And
sure.
I was able to get in and we finished some mixing and actually finished the album. And I was happy for that window
Yeah. Yeah.
and to get in and just to listen with you,
Hmm.
and get those last, like, even mixing, because mixing is a creative process too at the end, where you also, if you've had it for so long and you just
Hmm.
need to hear from that other perspective
Yeah.
of somebody like yourself who's worked on the project as much, you
Hmm.
put as much as I and me into it, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's I guess it's a tough balance now, but it's nothing super different and drastic than living that studio life
Hmm.
and working from home anyways.
Yeah.
Now with that being said, I noticed you had like a weekly thing going on in IG, which is cool because you're sharing like your knowledge and experience of running a studio and all your own label and your own production and all that stuff. Um, with I'm finding it easier to house myself with platforms like this
Hmm.
and discuss and also bring my 20 years of experience to the platform. I feel like this is such a good tool now to learn.
Hmm.
And like you teach at school as well, so I feel like that this is such an integral part of moving forward, especially having a home studio,
Yeah.
um, of doing business. And also I'll pick your brain on that after, but doing live shows, ticketed shows on your Facebook and other platforms like that, where you're bringing high quality show
Yeah. Yeah.
to a platform. And I'm going to start to experiment with that in a month or so, and like just in my backyard
Hmm.
with a couple artists, and then see how that goes, because I'm not really waiting around to see what happens with venues. And
Yeah.
I don't know if the quote unquote venue outlook is going to be the same coming back.
Well, there'll
So that'll
definitely be a
be
few. There's definitely going to be a few that are closed. That's for sure.
yeah. So with that all being said, do you now you see like do you see obviously you see like this live streaming as part of like your you know education as an instructor in your studio, and also part of your recording business, and also maybe like an opportunity to do shows in the
Well,
future?
I can't really speak about shows because I don't really do shows at all.
Yeah.
But as far as I think a lot of the tools that everyone's been using over the last year have already existed, but
Hmm.
now people aren't as afraid of them anymore.
Hmm.
So, for example, I definitely feel more comfortable in, like, I love my studio in Toronto. Obviously, you've been there; it's a nice spot. I feel comfortable here. This is where I want
Yeah.
to be, and
If it
being
looks,
creative.
by the way, this is the best looking set.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is great.
Yeah,
You got the fireplace.
yeah,
It's awesome.
yeah. It's a nice spot. Got my cappuccino
Yeah.
machine over there.
Yeah.
It's I just feel really comfortable here, and to create, and I have behind here I have a screen, but there are windows and stuff, so it's not quite, the thing I don't like about the studio that we work out of in Toronto is that there's no windows, which
Yeah.
most studios don't have windows. There's a reason for that. It's really hard to soundproof. Like, even you might be able to even hear cars drive by right now.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it just feels great to be here. So you know, I can offer people, okay, we can do some mix tweaks over Zoom now, you know, and Zoom is up their game a bit with the audio side of things. With they have a high quality audio mode now,
Hmm.
and a few things that it's still far from perfect, but there's definitely some stuff that can get done now. I think if that was suggested, like you know, before the pandemic, that people wouldn't really be that receptive to it. But now it's just kind of like, yeah, I don't know, let's give that a try, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, a lot of room for experimentation right now too. And
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, as far as what you were saying about the live thing, which again, like I can't comment on really because I don't play live. But I think you know the one thing is that whenever there's something new or whenever something drastic comes, there can be a lot of pain, but there can be a lot of opportunity as
oh
well.
yeah,
And you know, the people who can, you know, there's people that can kind of go through this and go like, oh, I'm locked in my place all day and I'm, you know, I'm unhappy or whatever. Or there's people like, you know what, I got a lot of time here to think, so why don't I figure out some things and figure out a whole new way to go about things, you know?
that's been my whole theory my whole theme the last year. I had to
Hmm.
like my profession closed the door on me,
Yeah.
so it's like okay.
Yeah.
And I've always, I got cushy in the position I had working for 10 years, and it's like I didn't maintain with, technology and stuff like that. I didn't upkeep.
Yeah.
And also, my whole entity as a representing myself as an artist and doing the whole package. It's like 4 or 5 years ago, I actually got to work on this as a whole package on as a 9 to 5. You know what I mean? I treated
Yeah.
everything like a 9 to 5, and I was gearing up. Like I was part of that SoundCloud bubble that was starting to rubble like
Hmm.
6, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And then I had to let go of, I had to leave all of that because I had to like focus on touring. And I'm so glad I did because look, the fucking world shut down
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
for a year, and I jammed in 50 shows over Canada
Hmm.
and the US in basically 2 years. So I'm glad I focused on that part, and at the same time, I did all this foundation work. Like I did all this work and like trial and error through my own process. And now I feel like, especially the last 3 months, where I've just treated this like a real 9 to 5 business, and I've allocated time every day for these different entities, and it's like I have the time, so I can represent myself professionally with a cleaned up EKP, a
Yeah.
press
Yeah.
kit, and as well as like it's just consistency, uh, you know, with communication and I've noticed a few things that you said on your rant show is like just being aware of like who's helping you. You know what I mean? Like if somebody small is putting you on a playlist, you need to like find a way to thank them,
Hmm.
to be to get a almost a Rolodex of people of who do these things. You know what I mean? You have to integrate yourself into this whole community. And now with doing stuff like this, I find it so easy now.
Hmm.
And I actually spent a few hours on Twitter and I spent a few hours on Facebook. And it's just, getting myself onto other people's shows. I've gotten my single as like artist feature of the day, you know what I mean? And you just kind of like you can integrate yourself into so many entities now with your music. It's crazy. Um and if you want to make a living out of it, it's like you can.
Hmm.
And but you really have to stick to that regimen of that 9 to 5. Like you really have to treat it like a real job,
Yeah, for sure.
and you've been doing that basically, your whole profession. You put in the work that is needed and your client wants. And so do you feel like now there's more opportunity for people coming to you for to do stuff, or as opposed to like do you find you were having to look before, but you're so established now that word of mouth helps and stuff like that. But are you finding it easier to like, what I'm trying to say is collaborate with people and do
Yeah.
stuff and
Well, what I've been doing is I've been trying to change the focus of the business, and the the my artist project, This Boy Electric, is something where I kind of put a bunch of creative energy into, and I release these tracks. And but one of the reasons I'm doing it is because I want to be able to use that as a calling card for the work that I do.
hmm
And that's slowly starting to work, where people are starting to reach out to me and say, hey, like, what, I heard what you're doing and I really like it, and you know would love to collaborate with you on something. And I think one of the biggest mistakes I made, and unfortunately there was a lot when I was kind of coming up, is to just be focused so much on other people's music, and not kind of doing stuff for myself as
yeah.
well. And because even like when you're talking about like touring and whatnot, I know there's people that will, like, I just, like, pretty much my whole career I always just focused on production and music, and like in the studio. And then you'll have someone who, say, spent their early 20s or their whole 20s just kind of touring with bands,
hmm
and then they want to settle down, and then they're like, you know what, I'm gonna start a little studio and be a producer now or whatever. And they have this huge list of contacts from people that they've known through touring and through working together, that it's easier to kind of get established that way.
hmm
I think because you're kind of already part of the scene, whereas a producer is always to a certain degree going to be on the outside. It's like that glass wall, right? On one side there's the musicians, the other side it's the producer, engineer, or whatever.
hmm
And by doing that touring and kind of playing with a lot of bands and whatnot when you're getting started, you can you're kind of breaking that down a bit, and it's like, hey, I'm one of you, and then
hmm
now I'm going to go behind that glass wall and you're going to do what I say. But
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
but it's a really good in. So I'm not, I can't change what was done in the past. And I mean, I wasn't really, I did go on a few tours, but very small, and they were fun, but it wasn't completely my thing. But I'm definitely trying to just create some music that I'm really really proud of. And then if other people like it, and they want to kind of hop on board, then there you go.
Yeah, and I like this new appreciation for producers too, you know what I mean? Where it's just like, it's the producer's song and you're featuring a good
Yeah.
singing artist. And that's what I remember that about at from like early 90s freestyle music.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like the dance music that was starting to come out of Europe and all that stuff. It was always like a big, like the producer was the feature of the song.
Yeah,
Like that
yeah,
was
for
the
sure.
main focus. Like you have this big time, big name producer, and then it had this, amazing vocalist on it,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, yeah, and
And
sometimes the
I
vocals
never
are great.
remembered who the vocalist was,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah, yeah.
always remember like that producer put out this track, and then that was like the beginning of features, really, if you think
Yeah.
about it. You know what I mean? Like now, the whole rap game is pretty much features. A lot of dance music, a lot of EDM. You got these features, and that was like kind of the catalyst of it. I'd say, in
Hmm.
my perspective, and just a different way for DJs and producers to get on that other side of the glass, like you said. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um, and now I feel like it's come around again where you have so many producers that are multi-talented like yourself that have either AV skills or photography skills or like artistic like other skills with it, or as a vocalist or artist, um, and they offer something for an artist, because I think the artist now is like has to do everything. So it's like almost to have a producer who does a lot of the stuff is almost like your production um label, you know what I mean? Like your production, I'll take care of this production wise for you. And
Hmm.
it's a such a good suit for a lot of artists now. And especially I find a lot of producers know a lot more about the business part of it too,
Hmm.
and of like monetization, of getting all your rights protected and all that stuff. Um yeah, so I'm like, I don't even know if they're questions. I just go on and on. I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, but like to to me, it's kind of like you can pick and choose now, really. Like if whoever you want to like put your full attention into, instead of like you said before, fully focusing on that artist and waiting for them to do something
Hmm.
and break, you know.
Well, so what I would say is that's one of the reasons I started the Ashton's Rants thing, and it was really just kind of like a little central spot to do something that I've been doing already, which is trying to help the artists that I'm working with kind of propel themselves in their career.
Hmm.
Because what I find is after 20 years of doing this, that I've worked with some really, really talented people. Some of them have gone somewhere, and a lot of them haven't. And I think what ends up happening is you can find a producer, you can produce tracks, you can do some good stuff, but right at that point when you're finished, it's like, well, now what?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of artists end up being really, really overwhelmed with the now what, and then they just don't do anything at all. And I admittedly I don't have like a ton of answers, but that's another thing that I'm doing with my project, This Boy Electric, is I'm literally trying to figure out some of the things that work and some of the things that don't, so that when I'm working with these artists, I can say, do this, don't do that,
Yeah.
so at least I have a few base things that I can recommend for people to do, and the one thing that I was hoping for and that it ended up really happening was, not a ton of people watch it. It doesn't really bother me, but a lot of my clients watch it, and the next time I see them, they'll be like, oh, I heard this thing, and I'm going to try this, I'm going to do that. And that's kind of what I wanted to have. Like, I'm just giving these little
Hmm.
little blurbs and little excerpts of some things that you should
A
do.
little advice, just some advice.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
something that, like, if you people just didn't even think about it, so
Oh
just
yeah.
getting people to think and get them excited about something, like, oh, you know what, I can do this, and kind of do some more research, or take this and get excited about it.
Or like you
um
said, if it's too daunting,
mhm.
things might be clearer for things that you're
Well, yeah, because
explaining.
I'm breaking it up into little sections, right? So
Exactly.
it's like,
Yeah.
you can now, it's like, okay, well, this is something I can do, and now this is something I can do, because a lot of times that's the big issue, is you're just kind of left like, I don't know what to do. I
Too
don't know.
much to focus on. Yeah.
Yeah, but not
Yeah.
even just like, well, what am I supposed to do? Where do I
Yeah.
start?
Yeah.
And people have this, as far as, the industry's great because you can release stuff really easily, and the cost of entry is a lot lower. But the disadvantage of that is that a lot more music is being released. So the competition is even greater than before, like exponentially greater. And really, I think one of the primary things that people are competing with is there's a lot of really bad music out there.
Yeah.
And so what
A
ends up
whole
happening,
lot. A whole
yeah,
heap of it.
yeah. So what ends up happening is, how do you distinguish yourself? You can reach that person that you didn't have access to before, but this person has already gotten 100, 200 songs that day that suck,
Yeah.
that they just don't want to listen to, and yours is just kind of in that pile, right? So
Hmm.
how do you distinguish yourself from that? It's really, really tough. So with new advantages come new issues to overcome.
I I would almost like to start a feature too where it's just explaining what people have tried. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And you and I have had a few discussions on how like Spotify works and how to like get it going, and I've seen things that have worked for you, and there's a couple of things that have worked for myself.
Hmm.
And whatever I'm doing right now has been working. And it's
Yeah.
like the last month I've really, like I said, I treated it like a 9 to 5. And what you have to do is you have to treat it like your press. You know what I mean? You're representing yourself as like a PR. You're a publishing company. So you want to make it some sort of presentable, like you said. How do I stand out? So I've learned this myself through trial and error, getting ripped off by a PR company myself.
Hmm.
And, but what I took away from that is I know how to do a EKP now, and I know how to write a pitch,
Hmm.
and I know how to like present to media because I worked in media as well.
Yeah.
But what I've done, is also you don't want to bore people because you can't jump people up with so much information. So
Hmm.
I found Twitter is the best because Twitter is like short and it's sweet, and you can put as many links as you want into it. And I find you're getting the most out of correspondence with Twitter, uh, where, people post and post and post about new music. And you link, what I've done is linked a little description, kind of a sentence,
Hmm.
Focus is a da 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 from Toronto. And then I put a picture in, like a nice picture, like a nice PR picture of one of my ones that I've used for press, like one that you use over and over. That's a really nice one.
Yeah.
And then my links, to whatever, my Apple Music, my Spotify music. And just by doing that every day, I've been getting on small playlists, bigger playlists, bigger playlists, bigger playlists. And I went from like 100 streams a day to averaging more than 400 now. So, and
Oh,
it's
that's
just,
great. Congrats.
yeah, but it's just, I have to keep doing it. Right. So,
Yeah.
and it's like, so, and the thing that's deceiving too is a lot of paid ones. So it's like you're seeing a lot of things that's not, you're seeing a lot of achievement that's not really there. It's
Hmm.
manufactured, and especially in rap and hip hop, where, and I kind of got sick of Instagram with this because people who promise, promotion sometimes, all they do is have a bunch of ghost accounts,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that ghost accounts just give you a bunch of likes and follows and stuff like that, but it doesn't really translate to money. It's not really translating into people going into your Spotify or Apple and all that stuff. So you need to like reach out. You need to reach out to radio stations, to blogs. Like, I remember you and I talking about how YouTube works and all that, and I just am getting into that, where you find other stations that, play music videos and stuff like that. Reach out to them, email them,
Hmm.
and, you know, now I find it's been easier than ever because so many people are home right now doing the same
Yeah.
shit. So I feel like it's just the beginning of streaming money too. Like there's a huge jump. There's going to be a massive jump coming up with revenue for streaming. Like TikTok just did a major deal
Yeah. Hmm.
with what is it, Sirius satellite radio,
Hmm.
and Pandora and stuff like that. So there's all these mergers happening, where you can get your, music played. And I think there's a lot of like misinformation on towards the artist. The artist, like you said, can't juggle all this stuff. So where do you go from here? So yeah, I put my shit out on DistroKid or CD Baby or whatever. Where do I go from there?
Hmm.
And what I've discovered is like a million rabbit holes of like getting your shit out there, and also like how many times you can get paid over and over and over for the same thing. So
Yeah.
I knew a bit and I had no idea. So I've like really went down the rabbit holes of publishing and all this stuff. I realized that my publishing has been held up for like years, and so now I can go back 2-3 years with Song Exchange and get my money for that as well.
Hmm.
And you know, especially with stuff that you're doing, you know what I mean? That's exciting for the producers, because before it was just like, you pay for a beat and then it's one and done, right? And
Yeah.
then, but now it's like there's so much business um, opportunity as well to go with a sing like a feature
Hmm.
hooking up. So we'll advertise your new single here. This is See What I See. Oh my eye. I see
Yeah.
what I see. So that's on your electric boy, this boy electric.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I was just ranting about that there. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity with it, and also knowledge that's available to people. Free knowledge,
Hmm.
crazy free knowledge. And it's all how much time you want to put in that. Like I've done these online courses with Song Trust,
Hmm.
and it's just maybe somebody explaining it to you and saying, oh, fuck, yeah, I just overlooked that.
Yeah.
I just like to me the other day, I just overlooked something like, oh, I just missed out on my song exchange money from all my Spotify plays and all that stuff. So like not only did I got paid for my masters, but I'm missing out on my performance rights,
Yeah. Like your
as the
publishing
actual
rights.
performer.
Oh, the
So
performance rights. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so I've missed out on 150,000 views
Yeah. Yeah.
on that side. You know what I mean? So it's like, thank goodness I can go back 2-3 years
Yeah.
because
For
I've only
sure.
started streaming like 2 years ago. But there's a lot of empowerment. It's
Hmm.
exciting.
Yeah.
And I think so for the producer, for the artist. It's totally doable now as much as you want to learn and educate yourself with.
Yeah. For sure. Well, that's I always tell people, like when I was younger, I didn't have like a ton of money, and just when I graduated from college, I used to I lived right across from the street from the college. I'd go to the library every day in the summer and just read magazines or read the like all the gear magazines and stuff.
Yeah.
And now like the level of information on YouTube and websites, it's just crazy.
Insane.
Like even like my on my car, I had to the blower, the cabin blower was, like the thing that blows the heat and the cool air. It it sounded like there was like little crickets in it, and it was just driving me nuts for like a year now. It's been driving me nuts, and I googled it, and sure enough, within 15 minutes I knew how to. Not even like within 5 minutes I knew how to do it. I knew what part to get. Ordered the part. 15 minutes I changed it out myself. No more crickets, uh, and that applies to anything.
Yeah.
Anything you want to know is available for you to know now. Like there's no excuse not to know anything that you don't want to know now, really. So that in itself is very exciting. And I wish, to be honest, I wish I was younger, just and having that kind of youthful energy to kind of let that soak in a little bit now. Yeah,
Hmm.
I find it's definitely harder now that I'm older. Like I'm always learning new things, and I'm always excited about stuff, but definitely not to the extent when I was younger. Like younger me right now would have just killed it. Like would have just absolutely like just soaked in all this info and just boom. So
I think so too. We're pretty much the same age, and I call our generation the half and halves because we're the half internet, half without internet
yeah, for sure.
generation.
Yeah.
And I wrote this article for shoot, I can't even remember the magazine, but that's the one thing that that publishing company got me. They got me in touch with this magazine, online magazine. I wrote an article for them.
Hmm.
That's it was pretty good. It was long, but basically I did the comparison of what it was like to record in 1999 as opposed to 2019, 20 years
Oh, for
later.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
So what I came away with it, the conclusion I came away with it is that well, I'm too old to have energy right now. But that's the to the conclusion that I came with it is that and this is my perception, is that the technology is endless right now. Like to pull up a beat machine on your phone and make a beat right there, it's done.
Oh,
It's a
sure.
wave file right there,
Hmm.
bang. And to you could probably produce a whole album on a phone right now if you wanted to.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, and the struggle to do it 20 years ago when I had to transfer something from a CD to an 8-track tape
Hmm.
to fucking reel to reel to the fucking like zip drive to only two files on one zip drive, you know. But what I found is that I had all the creativity in the world when we are young, and you almost harness all that creativity and you bring it with you
Hmm.
to when you do have that moment to create and use gear, right?
Yeah.
But I find now that there's so much technology and so much of that stuff, and there's less like, not less creativity, but there's less standout creativity. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
less like people who are, wow, holy crap, that person is so different. Because I feel like everybody's just like seeing what works and
Hmm.
going with that formula. And just, I get this talking from younger rappers. And the problem with that is just like, you, in order for you to propel, you have to have like a Drake type beat. You
Yeah.
need to have like this type beat. And you might be right, you know, to propel yourself into that algorithm and that, you know, and
Hmm.
like we, to come around what we were saying at the beginning of the podcast is just a whole lot of fucking quantity right now.
Yeah.
It's, and like you said, there is a great opportunity to stand out. So if you do have something that's bam, it does come out, like, you know, what's that new J. Cole album that just came out? If it's good,
Hmm.
it really makes a big impact, right? Because everything's so interconnected
Hmm.
and everything's so instant, right? So if you do work hard at something great, there's a way more impact opportunity. But at the same time, stuff comes out so fast now that you're competing with so much stuff. So
Well, the other
I feel,
thing,
yeah, go ahead.
just to hook on to one of your points there is about kind of people sounding the same or whatever. I think that's one of the real unfortunate byproducts of the way music's consumed now.
Yeah.
So, because the way a new artist is going to break through is through playlists and stuff like that. And with playlists, you have to fit into the playlist.
Hmm.
And definitely, I've found that when I'd finish a song and then I would listen, then I would start trying to contact playlists, and now I get services to do it for me. But like when I was contacting playlists, I was like, oh boy, like it doesn't really fit in this one because these songs don't really sound like it, or
Hmm.
um, you know what I mean? And so it can be really that's definitely I think unless you have like that really really big money machine push, it's going to be really really hard to kind of break through as a completely original artist because you're not
Hmm.
really, because again it's all algorithms and whatever, and if you don't fit into these categories that you need to, you're probably not going to be heard unless
Hmm.
and oops sorry again unless you have this huge push behind you. So I don't know. I mean, at some point, I think that's going to have to be figured out to some degree because, if it keeps going like this, it's just going to get more and more where just everyone's just going to be more and more like, you know, narrow focus of like, oh, well, that song, how, I can't tell you how many people last year wanted me to do a track that sounds like The Weekend
I was
behind it.
just gonna say the
Yeah.
weekend. I was like, no, don't even tell. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It
And I
was
mean,
on my mind.
I love it. I love it. It's
Amazing,
great. But,
but be
um,
yourself. Be who
yeah,
you are. Like, yeah.
we can't all be The Weekend.
Well, he made him sound his own sound by his own drive, right? His
Hmm.
own. Yeah, yeah.
For
You
sure.
must get that all the time. Like do it like this, and
Yeah. Yeah. I think there was like 1 week where I had the same, someone's like, here's the
one
record.
weekend.
And I'm just clicking and I'm like, oh, there's The Weekend. Oh, there's The Weekend. There's The
Yeah,
Weekend.
yeah, yeah. Well, the thing I really appreciated this last, you know, album was understanding the importance of like I always say it too, getting the lightning in the bottle,
Hmm.
and I remember we did one session and we were messing around with the bass and got a bass line down and I got a hook and I
Hmm.
wrote it and I was like, get that mic on. And I
Yeah. Yeah.
ran in there and I got the hook and I'm really glad I got that hook. And um those, like you said, you're talking about those moments are that's what really makes a good record, right?
Hmm.
And that's all you really need sometimes is that little gem and you can build around it. But like you said, if it's all these other things you're worried about, that's on your mind. So it's making it a little more difficult to, collaborate on. So when you do collaborations, is it somebody you heard and you wanted to work with, or you reach out to them, or is it like somebody's come to you, or is it like just 50-50 kind of like?
Little bit of both. I mean, I
Yeah.
think a bunch of times it's people I've heard. It's funny how things worked with Nova, who I did the last track with, because she I like what I'll do is I'll kind of pay attention to singers on Instagram. Someone will like add me or
Hmm.
whatever, and I'll be like, oh wow, like they sound really good, and I'll just kind of like make a mental note and like, okay, maybe we can do something at some point. And Nova was one of those people, and the thing that was so funny about that was that um, I had been paying attention to her posts for like a year or two or something, and then she actually emailed me, and
That's funny.
yeah, and she was just kind of looking to do some studio work and everything, and I told him like, oh, that's so funny because like I've been kind of paying attention to you and thinking of like something that might work. So we ended up doing a bunch of tracks together. So this one is the first one that we've done actually today. So the See What I See is it's a song that I actually wrote quite a while ago, and I kind of did a different, more electronic pop version of it, and then she's singing it. I was actually singing the original.
So you wrote it. That's okay.
Mhm. Yeah,
Nice.
and so
Awesome.
we have done a lot of co-writing as well. That this was the only time where I actually wrote it, and but she liked it so much. She's Brazilian. She actually wrote a Portuguese version of the song. So we actually, and she just released it today, and that's her release on her account. And so yeah, so we have a Portuguese version of the song as well, which is kind of cool. So we can kind of take the same song. It's a bit of a different beat, and obviously the lyrics are different, but kind of the same melody. And we can kind of take that same song and try two different markets.
That's funny. It's such a small world. I don't know if I mentioned to you, but I know Nova.
Yeah, you were
I
saying, yeah.
know Natalia. Yeah, we I met her at the Painted Lady. We did
Hmm.
like this it was open mic night, and we did like a duet kind of
Oh,
on
nice.
stage. Like I rapped and she did perform. And she opened up for me in Montreal. I did a show in Montreal. She came along and
Hmm.
did a number. But yeah, I always thought she could use really a good producer. I
Hmm.
always thought that she had really good voice, good energy, good, composition and all that stuff. It just needed like that extra, production,
Hmm.
that flair. And yeah, I was when I saw she was working at your studio, I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's so small world,
Yeah, yeah.
and I think we just had finished up our our
Yeah.
project
Yeah, we
together,
did. Yeah, yeah. And that's
and
around when we started working. Yeah.
yeah, it's funny. And it's funny, how we met. Like, it's funny how you go through music, especially in Canada,
Hmm.
But we met playing hockey. We were just out
Yeah, yeah.
playing shinny hockey, and I don't know how the conversation came up. I think I had just finished an album with. I think I just finished this one with my
Yeah, yeah.
buddy Ben, and we were talking about rap music or something. And yeah, you're like, "Oh, I got a studio up the street," and so we started chatting,
Hmm.
and that must have been
Would have
10
been
years ago. That was 10
yeah.
years ago because I was Dufferin. Yeah, I was
we-
skating at Dufferin. Yeah, Jesus. Wow.
I miss those times so much, and even just
Yeah.
hockey in general. Like I cannot wait to get back on the ice.
Well, me too. I'm at the beaches now here, and well, obviously, nothing
Hmm.
was open last
Yeah,
year,
yeah.
but I got one skate in at the end of this year. I was walking, I just do my morning walk, and
Hmm.
these guys were skating around. I'm like, what the hell? Like, this isn't
Yeah, yeah.
allowed. Like,
Hmm.
am I dreaming? This
Yeah.
is this. So I just piped up and I was like, what's going on, guys? He's like, oh, lately we've come an hour early and the guy's opening up. He doesn't really care as
Hmm.
long as we're gone by 9. He said, well, this is the last day. and he's really doesn't care. So it's been like 2-3 hours. So I'm like, give me a minute. I ran home and I got my skates, came back. So I got an hour. I
Okay,
got an
yeah,
hour in with my t-shirt on and had a skate. So it was
yeah.
like little ice liberation.
Well,
Uh
you know what ended up happening? I played twice in the fall. When the, when it just seemed like, oh wow, things are gonna slowly get back to normal in the fall, and so I played twice in the fall, and the second time I played, I got an email a few days later, and we found out that one of the people we were playing with ended up was working with someone who had COVID, and so then we all got tested, and then we found out that in fact the person did have it. So
you dodged a
um,
bullet.
yeah, I didn't end up having it, but I had to put my life on hold for 2 weeks, and
Jeez.
even and that was just like, you know what, I
Not
can't.
worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, like I wasn't really worried about getting sick or anything like that. Like not to say that I couldn't or whatever, but I'm pretty healthy, so I figured I'd probably be okay. But it's like I can't. I've just figured this is going to happen a lot more. I can't put my life on hold every 2 weeks or for 2 weeks every time that I find out that I was near someone playing hockey or whatever. So I just shut it down. And then I think like a few weeks later, it ended up shutting down anyway. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it felt good. It's gonna. I imagine that we're gonna get to play again this fall, and I cannot wait.
Yeah. And just to do something. Just to
Yeah.
do.
Well, you know what I've been doing is I've been walking in the woods almost every day.
That's great.
And then
It's amazing.
I actually live by the water here in Hamilton. There's a really nice trail, and I just broke out the rollerblades, and so I'm starting to rollerblade now. So
Awesome.
yeah, so hopefully I can kind of get a little bit more into shape because I've definitely gained a bunch of weight in the whole thing, like all of us have, during this whole
Yeah.
process.
I'm lucky I live by the beaches, so I've been super blessed to walk down there and
Hmm.
just to be close to water and kind of like a little bit of an outdoor escape. But yeah, I'm definitely feeling the cabin fever,
Hmm.
and I feel like I need more nature this summer, just to make myself feel a little grounded, and especially making music. I was talking to my last guest last week, Acoustic 7, about how much like that enhances music making, and really, especially as a writer myself, it's kind of helps me organize a lot of my writing in my
Yeah, yeah.
head and everything on paper. Well, yeah, so we'll wrap this up here in a couple minutes. But what do what are your plans moving forward? Me myself, I'm just trying to do this and stay connected and looking for other ways of presenting my music. But yeah, you got your studio and you're doing tons of production. What's coming up for yourself?
Right now, I think, I mean, there's always stuff going on at the studio, like the studio projects and whatnot. But um, I think as much as I can this summer, I'm actually going to try and slow things down
Yeah.
and just really kind of have a little bit of time to breathe, a little bit of time to think, because I think I've just been on overdrive for so long that I haven't necessarily made the right moves in some cases, and I just want to really kind of have a little bit of time to think about that and evaluate what the next step's going to be.
Yeah, I feel the same way because, been in this game for a while. I've been headstrong for a long time. And even when everything came shutting down, I feel like it was like the break
Hmm.
that I've needed all this time. And now, and like I haven't slowed down at all since
Yeah.
I've actually picked it up even more. I've done more. I've produced more than I've ever had in the last year. I've made more content in the last year than I ever have. I've organized more of my business side more than I have ever in the last year. I think I'm just getting everything up to the point where I want everything up to speed
Hmm.
and up to like completion. And then I can go,
Yeah, yeah.
and I think I can take a couple months off this summer and the same thing. But I do see this as an integral part of my future and moving forward to make a living like this. Also thinking about live streaming as well too.
Hmm.
But I do feel like I need a break because it's gonna pick up soon.
Yeah,
Like once
exactly.
everything gets going, and venues get back to, maybe somewhat same capacity.
Hmm.
I feel like the streaming thing is going to be an integral part, and then also, with sound production as well.
Hmm.
Everything's coming up to a certain professional level with platforms. So I think somebody like yourself is going to be needed in a lot of live stream productions where people are just going to want to come to your place and be like, hey, can we do a podcast here,
Yeah,
with
yeah.
quality music and quality operators, you know what I mean? So we can
Hmm.
have a live aspect. So yeah, I see a lot of good future for you with, what you've already built already and your foundation and your knowledge and all that stuff. I think it's gonna you're gonna dictate your future of where you're going. Like you said, you've had a couple trial and errors, and I think you're ready for a good long, solid future of
Yeah, yeah,
this.
for
And
sure. Yeah,
I
definitely
wish you all the
excited.
best.
Oh, thank you. I wish
And
you.
yeah, we'll be in touch for sure. And yeah,
Sounds
just
great.
yeah.
Okay, well, great talking to you.
All right, thanks for joining me, man. And I wish you all the best and good luck with having a break, man. We'll
Thanks.
need a little break, I think.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
All right, man. Peace.
Okay, talk to you later. Bye.
All right. That was Ashton Price of Morph Productions here in Toronto. He's amazing producer, engineer, extraordinary musician, and he was an integral part of making this album for me. AM Grinding pretty much did all of the mixing at his studio. We recorded lots of the musicians and did quite a bit of the vocals there at his studio. So if you want to get a hold of him for, production stuff, you can hit up morphproductions.com and check out his site, This Boy Electric. He's got some amazing artists. Like I said, this one single that has come out for him, See What I See with Nova Nardi. Uh, Great dance stuff, cool sounds, and quality music. Yeah, so hit him up at Morph Productions. And yeah, thanks for watching. It's going to be a short show tonight. That's it. And from now on, I'm just going to be doing one guest, 8 p.m. every Friday night. And it might be an hour, it might be an hour and a half, but the shows are going to be a little shorter here as the weather gets better. And July 3rd, Saturday, July 3rd, myself, Ace and Abby, and EM Lord are going to be performing live on AM Grinding here on Facebook as a ticketed show. You can see information coming up soon, amgrinding.com. That'll be a live performance, $10 a ticket in my backyard, multi-camera shoot, live show. So even though the venues aren't going to open up anytime soon, we're still going to bring you some live music to these platforms. So thank you so much, Ashton, for joining me tonight and sharing your knowledge. And yeah, speaking on many things production wise. I'd like to thank everybody for watching tonight, and peace. Stay focused.